Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. Let's talk boxing. Artur Beterbiev remains the only champion in the sport of boxing with a 100% knockout ratio as he bludgeons Callum Smith in order to retain his light heavyweight titles. He got him out of there in 7 rounds, and Smith was very, very brave. He was oozing a warrior spirit in there, biting down on that gum shield, fighting back just like Anthony Yarde did. You know, a lot of these fighters really do have that great inner spirit within them, right? They're fighters, they're champions within them. But they're up against a very special light heavyweight here, who is not just a fantastic technical boxer, but he's a brute. And you saw that he was able to marry those things, bring them together, and the fight really played out exactly as we expected and exactly as we spoke about in the technical preview video. We said that the prediction was that Beterbiev is likely to get him out of there in the middle to latter rounds. He got him out of there in round 7. And the way in which we spoke about how he would break him down, in my opinion, played out. What also played out are the certain areas where Callum Smith might be able to have a little bit of success, but it just wasn't enough. You see, in the preview, we said that regardless of how Callum Smith was to approach the fight, he had a problem because with the skill set that he has and the limitations that he has, Beterbiev's not necessarily going to struggle to be able to force him into exchanges because although Smith is tall, he's not difficult to actually close the range against and force back and get up close with, because when he's under duress, he tends to cover up and he'll lean back on his heels. And what we said in the preview is that if he's going to have the best opportunity in order to win the fight, in my opinion, rather than fight tall, he's got to bend a little bit at the knees, almost come to the height of Beterbiev, keep him on the end of that long stick, be active with that jab, and try to lure Beterbiev onto shots, make him pay for that entry. But that Beterbiev would ultimately not have too many problems closing that gap. I want you to go and watch the first few seconds of the fight. And you're going to see that Callum Smith actually comes out with a stance that I like. He's quite bent at the knees. He's quite low. You know, he's approaching it in a way that I'm thinking, okay, the way they've set up, if you just take a photograph right now, I like what Callum Smith's doing. Within seconds of the fight starting, Beterbiev leaps in. Again, as we explained in the preview, he is a guy that will run those red lights in order to jump into the pocket. And what did Callum Smith do? He instantly showed up. He didn't seem to seek to time him. He didn't seek to pivot out, change the angle. He instantly showed up. And within seconds, he's in the corner and Beterbiev's letting go of his hands. And you're thinking, wow, is he going to get him in trouble already? Now, Callum Smith, being the warrior that he is, he showed a great spirit in there and he started to fight back. And he put his foot on the pedal, so to speak, in that first round, bit down on that gum shield and started to let go of some long shots. And what you saw with Beterbiev is that he actually decided to get on the back foot. And as again, we said in the preview, he's somebody that can rotate around the ring and counter you. And what did he do in that first round? He made Callum Smith fall short with a right hand and he just dropped his own little left hand in there, a very short shot, just to let Callum Smith know, even if you're leading off, I'm going to find an opportunity to land that short shot. Then he got on top again towards the end of the round. And that really set a statement out to Callum Smith. In the second round, Smith came out very, very active, letting go of those long shots. And what I really liked about the jab is that he was consistent with it. And something I did criticize him for in the preview is to say that he's not really the sort of guy that will move around the ring and pop a jab. He's not that consistent with his jab. He tends to use it more to set up power shots. He was a lot more consistent tonight. We know that Buddy McGirt is big on the jab. He's obviously been working on the jab with Callum Smith. I know they've been together for a long time now, but for this fight specifically, I'm sure that they really put a lot into that shot. And he was varied with it. He was shooting it upstairs and also bringing it downstairs to the solar plexus. And that was making Beterbiev a little bit more honest about coming in. Now, what you saw with Callum is that when he was looking for those hooks, what Beterbiev was doing in order to block them is a bit of a Muay Thai type of block, really. He's not just throwing up a hand. He's not trying to roll under the shot. He's literally putting his whole bicep up to protect the face. And there's a lot of coverage when it comes to that type of block when you're trying to get that hook in. And so he'd be standing there with the high guard, using his feet to step in and out of range. And when he'd see those hooks, he's literally just having a little small movement. Now, from there, I'm thinking to myself, Callum, he's starting to read your hooks to the head. You've got to go downstairs now. Shape up as though you're going to go upstairs and rip a hook into the body. Because if he's in this position already and his focus is to come up to block, if he's in that area where he's trying to protect the whole side of his head, what is he doing? He's leaving his ribs open. And Callum didn't spot that. But at the end of round 3, you heard Buddy McGirt tell him, you're ignoring the body. You're headhunting. Start to target the body. Go to the body. That's what I want to see. Keep going to the body. And it was great advice from Buddy McGirt. And Callum Smith, again, is trying to now go to the body. He's throwing hooks to the body. He's throwing that lead jab to the body. He threw a nice uppercut on occasion as well from that point forth. But from the third onwards, Beterbiev won every round. I mean, the only round you could say that Callum Smith won was the second. I felt he outworked Beterbiev. But after that, you just saw how difficult it is to deal with this guy because he is a guy that can get on the back foot if you're going to try and force him back, and he'll make you fall short. And with a very short left jab, there's no real tail on it. He just shoots it straight. It's very, very heavy-handed. It's thudding. It's almost like throwing a counter hook. So he's very comfortable getting around the ring and just moving. And because he's got that high guard, he's always defensively responsible, but he's active with it. He's not just a guy who you're just going to be creative with and let go of shots against, and he'll punch with you. So even if you are going to say, I'm going to be creative, and at times Callum Smith was creative. There were a couple of occasions where he threw a couple of hooks and then he threw the uppercut through the center line. There was one moment, I think it was in round 3 or 4, where Beterbiev threw a hook to the body and then another hook to the body, straight one after the other. And instantly Callum Smith came back with that fast left hook that he lands. And he landed it. And Beterbiev dropped the tempo a little bit. He wasn't hurt by it, but he understood there's a threat here. So again, he gets on that back foot and then he starts to work a bit more intelligently, shall we say, about creating the openings against Callum. And one of the things that Beterbiev is so good at, man, when you're going to seek to tie him up, he's so good at being able to create space to find openings for those short shots, whether it's those clubbing shots over the top or whether he just takes a little hop to the side and he threw this little uppercut into the solar plexus. He's so hard to tie up. He's so damaging up close that you can't really do that. One area where Callum Smith was making Beterbiev a little bit tentative, I guess you could say, is that when he was up on the ropes, even when he was hurt, when he was showing a lot of upper body movement, a lot of head movement, Beterbiev was trying to time him. And he would actually take half a step and just try to look at him. You could see his eyes computing the movement of Callum. And there was one moment where he took a little bit too long computing and Callum Smith shot a jab and caught him. And then Beterbiev took half a step back and then reset. When Smith was up on the ropes and he was using a lot of upper body movement, Beterbiev wasn't just opening up in the way somebody that Canelo would, for instance. So to me, that suggested that he was always picking shots. He wasn't just throwing combinations for the sake of it, which sometimes, if they're drilled, can actually be really beneficial. He wasn't doing that though. He wanted to lock on to a target. And perhaps that can be used against Beterbiev at times. But although Callum was, making him a little bit tentative at 1 or 2 points with that, he wasn't really throwing big shots off of it. So Beterbiev was comfortable just taking his time, breaking him down. When Callum Smith then did decide to sort of try and move off the ropes as he's exiting the pocket, you saw Beterbiev land a nice little left hook to the body. So it was just a lot of varied work from Beterbiev. In the preview, we also mentioned that when it came to Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara and Bivol against Canelo Alvarez, a couple of elements that played out there is that both of those guys will lean that weight onto that front foot on occasion before launching in with an attack. With Canelo, he sort of shifts his feet in more slowly and he does it and he'll work from there. With Lara, he'll lean onto that front foot and launch. He almost jumps in. But Beterbiev can sort of do it both ways, but the point is that little tell of leaning forward into that front foot is often a tell of work that's to come. But as we said, he varies it so it's difficult to read. And there were a couple of occasions where Callum Smith did read it and time it, but very, very often you saw that Beterbiev was able to keep his feet beneath him very, very well indeed. And when Callum Smith would try to time him and follow him out, more often than not, Beterbiev was literally able to step out with that high guard and not take on too much punishment. His defense was very, very good, even though his aggressive style meant that, Callum Smith was bound to touch him at some point. You have a lot of fighters that are called defensive geniuses because they fight in a defensive way. That's a different sort of thing. An analogy I've used in football before. If you're a very defensive outfit and you're going to sit back and repel attack after an attack, that's not an easy thing to do. Otherwise, all the small teams would get results against the bigger teams, right? It's a hard thing to execute. But it's a very different skill to defending when you are constantly on the front foot and attacking and your defensive line is on the halfway line, right? It's a different method of trying to defend. So if the ultra attacking team concedes more over the course of the season than another team, they're both elite teams, but another team who's defensive, it doesn't mean the defensive team has a better defense. It just means that they're drilled to defend in a different way, which means they're going to concede less. How many are they going to score though? And Beterbiev is somebody who's ultra attacking, who also knows how to defend. You're going to get a few goals against him, so to speak. But the fact that he's so attacking actually suggests that that's natural and his defense is actually top class on top of that. It was just very accomplished stuff. And the advice from Buddy McGirt to Callum Smith was very good. The technical adjustments from Callum Smith were very good. He was punching long. At times, he tried to target the body. He tried to double up on shots to the body. The fact of the matter is he was just in against a supreme light heavyweight. And something that I'd said in the preview, in the comments section below, is that I understood a lot of people were picking Callum Smith for the upset. But to me, the reason I saw this as a bit of a mismatch, to be honest, with all due respect to Callum, because I think he's brilliant, but you're talking about a fantastic super middleweight who was a bit of a size guy really at super middleweight, going up to fight a big light heavyweight who's elite. The difference is that even if they were both moderate punchers or pillow-fisted, I still don't think Callum Smith wins the boxing match. So when you're up against a guy who's superior as a boxer, and he's the physically stronger man who can bludgeon you, and you don't have those massive athletic advantages, how are you really going to win the fight? It's very, very difficult. It was a tough night for Callum, but he showed great heart, like I said, and he can bounce back and he can still be involved in a lot of good fights at light heavyweight. There are a lot of good light heavyweights out there. How about two victims of ARTUR BETERBIEV's? Imagine Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde going at it. That's a great fight. With Beterbiev, the one we all want to see now is, of course, the undisputed title fight between himself and Dimitri Bivol. I'm not going to give predictions and go into technical breakdowns because obviously I wait for those fights to be announced. And if I give it all up now, then no one's going to bother watching the videos, right? So we'll keep that to ourselves for a later date. But for now, this was a really entertaining fight. Wonderful performance from ARTUR BETERBIEV. Who do you think is going to win between Beterbiev and Bivol? You could share your pick, right? You guys aren't out there making videos. Most of you aren't. Anyway, let me know in the comment section down below. And also for Callum Smith, who would you want to see him back in the ring with next? Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.